Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined as always by my guy Nate. Whites are holding it down on the East Coast. Another great article, playpicks.com, up for you guys, as we want to do every week here. Nate kicking off things with some best bets and some picks for you guys. We are going to be jumping into the Bulls and Celtics. Might surprise you who Nate actually likes in this one. We'll jump into all of that. But as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or a DraftKings account, head to FDPicks.com or DKPicks.com and find those listings in your area. Nate, let's jump into those lines for Monday night.
Yeah, I don't know. Should we really be surprised that I'm picking against the Celtics the way they have continued the dysfunction of last year under a new coach? In any case, yeah, that game, the Celtics are actually 1.5 point favorites. I don't understand why. And the total is 216.5, actually down a point from where it opened. And looking at the other games on Monday night, we got the Blazers on a back-to-back. They're +5 in Philly. The Spurs are +3 at Indiana. The Raptors are +7 at the red-hot Knicks. The Wizards +5.5 at the Hawks, rematch of a game from last week. The poor Magic are +9 at the Wolves. Nuggets +2 at Grizzlies. So that'll be a good game to watch with the 8 o'clock tip there. And the Thunder +11 at the Clippers, who only have one win this year. The Celtics have 2 wins and have been utterly dreadful on defense, just awful, and have shown no sort of response to the home crowd at TD Garden. They've gone over the 220 mark. In 4 of their 6 games this year. They have the 5th worst defensive rating in home games. To that point about the crowd and its lack of impact. And the Bulls have been fantastic, really, regardless of venue. They're the only team to beat the Jazz this year. But the first thing I'm looking at is both these teams can't really guard each other at all. The Bulls lost Patrick Williams for maybe the entire season with a broken wrist. They responded by starting former Celtic Javonte Green and kind of matching up their lineups as they went against the Jazz. The Celtics have never shown any answers for DeMar DeRozan, who is just a half-court killer, has 24+ in 5 of his last 6 trips to Boston. This just isn't – sure, the last 4 meetings have gone under between these teams, but this is a new day for the Bulls. We've talked about this. They are pushing the pace much more. They're running 4-wing lineups. And the Celtics, as I mentioned, are dead last and allowing a league-high 118 points per game. And they're scoring the 4th most, though. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, it's very much an I go, you go mentality. They're not doing anything to work off each other necessarily, but they can both get their buckets. And looking at the over, it's been 24-18 for the Celtics after a loss for them since 2020. They're coming off an overtime loss to Washington. And in that situation, they've lost 4 straight after an overtime loss. And so I like both the Bulls, but I think I even like the over more at just 216. I think we'll see both teams have no problem scoring, and we've just seen some wacky games with the Celtics. I wouldn't be actually surprised if this goes to overtime. If you want to take a long shot bet on that, you can probably get about +1,000.
Yeah. The overtime bet seems to be one we might as well place on these Celtics. I believe they've gone 3 games already now, or is it 4? I can't remember. It's at least 3 that they've already gone to.
Well, a double overtime in the
a double. There you go. So that's what it is. There's a bunch of overtime periods. They played an extra one against the when they went to double there. Yeah, looking at the amount of points they're giving up, that's where you start with the C's this year. There's nothing to feel good about with their defense. When you look about how many points they've given up, I mean, they beat the Hornets, right, 140 to like 129, I believe. But at this, that was a nice victory for them where they didn't stop a nosebleed at any point. It was just lucky for them that Charlotte was even worse on defense. We're talking about the Chicago Bulls, right? The number of where did they drop to now? Yeah, I think they're still top 10 in defensive rating, top about 6 or so in the league. But it's still, right, we told you it was a mirage when they were second in the league a couple of days ago before they gave up a bunch more points in their last couple games. And it's probably going to be the case again. And to your point, this is going to be a game that opens up with DeMar DeRozan getting what he wants. I do believe that. Patrick Williams was a big loss for them. You know, they already struggle, the Bulls do, in terms of, low post presence for sure. Vooch is definitely more of a turnstile than he is a defensive stopper to certain big men. Not that that'll be a problem too much without, too much low post scoring coming from the C's. I think you see Al Horford in his old days definitely taking that high post role a lot more than he is really banging too much right now. And honestly, like for a team like the C's to come in against a team like the Bulls right now, it's a matchup problem entirely for them with the guards that you see coming in for the Bulls at this point. Obviously, Jaylen Brown will be someone that they'll be looking for to stop DD. But with the combination of players that the Bulls have right now and the way that the C's are sputtering, I don't really feel very good about anything other than Chicago. And that over seems way, way too low. Like we said, Chicago's defense is much more of a mirage than it is actually a legit top 5, top 10 defense in all of our opinions, I think. So we'll continue to monitor that. But I think you can find some good, like you said, DD is where I'll be eyeing my props tonight. I'm definitely going Bulls. And over, if you like it, the over, these totals early in the season are always a little bit wonky, as we know, but definitely feeling really, really good about the Bulls and eyeing DeMar there.
Yeah, I mean, some more points about the Bulls offense in this matchup. The Celtics giving up a league-high 27 free throw attempts per game, and Chicago is second in their free throw ratio, free throw to field goal ratio, third in makes. That's sort of offset their slow pace, their relatively good defensive rating, in giving you a better chance at an over. And I just think they can win this game too. I mean, they're 5-1 against the spread this season. They've covered 7 straight against losing teams. Billy Donovan has his team on a string. He has them playing defense above their pay grade, so to speak. As I mentioned, mixing and matching those lineups to kind of offset Vucevic's defensive liabilities and their weird roster construction. But they are the worst rebounding team, I think, in the NBA to this point. So I would look at some props for the Celtics. Look at Rob Williams over 8.5 boards. Al Horford combined 24.5 points, rebounds, assists. As long as he's playing, on that short rest, you always have to watch for that with the veteran. But I think the Celtics will be able to score, and the Bulls will be forced a little bit out of their comfort zone on the road to play a bit more high-scoring game. So sticking with the over on this one.
Yeah, 100%. The other categories that would support the over there. The Bulls are scoring about top 3 in the league in 3-point percentage. The Celtics continue to be in the bottom 5 in opponent 3-point percentage. They continue to give up, as you mentioned, a ton of those points in the paint. That like you were saying, rebounds will be a little bit easier to come by for the Celtics than in prior games, but they're in the bottom 5 as well in terms of rebounds, allowing opponents to get a ton of offensive rebounds and failing to secure those defensive rebounds as well. So I think, a lot of points to be scored tonight, probably a lot of second chance points with a lack of interior presence really for both teams. We'll see what Robert Williams can do. I know we're trying to eye him as well, but this is definitely spelling Bulls and over for us, as we mentioned a couple of times. So that is all the time that we have for this episode. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. A couple more videos up for you tonight on today's Monday NBA slate. As always, we've got some player props out there for you, and one other game we're targeting, those New York Knicks and Toronto Raptors. A couple things that we like there. So make sure you check those out. And until we see you next, happy betting.